Happy Monday, friends. Welcome back to the show. Are you someone that has always known that leadership is your calling? Or have you questioned whether leadership is a calling for you? Well, in today's episode, we're talking about calling, how it differs from purpose, and 5 signs that you may have been called to be a leader. I am also going to apologize in advance because my puppy is laying right at my feet and very loudly chewing on a chew bone. So it's impossible for me to completely filter that out. So hopefully you can hear my voice above his loud chewing.
Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast. Do you want more time to spend with your family and better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, and Jesus lover. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. But no matter how hard I worked or how much I achieved, I never felt like I was enough. I spent decades pouring myself into my work, constantly trying to meet expectations and be accessible 24/7. I had no time or energy left for myself or my family. I finally found the solution for all of my struggles. I started to live like an unconditionally loved daughter of the King. In this podcast, you will hear practical, faith-led solutions to help you in life and leadership through faith work, self-care, and practical leadership strategies. If you're ready to stop people-pleasing and start living and leading God's way, this podcast is for you. Unbutton your blazers, sister friends. It's time to get after it.
If you listened to last week's episode, we talked about finding your purpose. We are all created for the purpose of glorifying God. But how do we do that? How we do that is different for each of us, based on the unique gifts God has given us. That specific work is what I am talking about when I use the word calling. In my experience, calling changes and evolves during different seasons of our life. Let's take leadership, for example. Some people practically come out of the womb with obvious, quote, leadership skills. We said that about my daughter when she was little because she was bossy from the get-go. They take charge, they influence others, they naturally pull people together to accomplish a goal. There are others among us who are more of the reluctant leader type. I would never have considered myself a natural leader. I think I have certain strengths that came together to equip me for leadership when the opportunity was presented me, but I never in a million years would have told you that I was going to be in leadership when I was younger. I read a description of calling that I think is very fitting. It said, "Calling is the place where passion and productivity meet." In other words, it's when something you're passionate about also meets a need. It benefits others. If all you do is something that makes you happy, but it doesn't benefit others, that's not really a calling from God. On the other hand, if you're helping a lot of people, but you're miserable doing it, that is likely not a calling either. There are times when it's right and good to serve others, to meet an immediate need, and it does bring glory to God, but it may not specifically be your calling. It's just necessary to dive in and get the work done to meet the need. It's also possible that your calling may not be your occupation. You may have a career or a job that pays the bills and meets the needs of your family, but you also feel a calling to serve in another way. It may not earn you a dime, but it serves others and you're passionate about it. It's awesome when your calling is also your occupation. What could be better, right? But that doesn't always happen. And it's still possible to find fulfillment in spite of that. If you're lucky enough to be a leader who knows it is your calling, there's likely strong evidence that this is true. Some indications you are living your calling. Number one, most importantly, you've prayed about it and sought direction from the Lord to be sure that what you're doing and how you are doing it aligns with His will and His word. Second, you just know it. You feel or you have felt drawn to leadership from somewhere deep within. A lot of people call this hearing God's voice or God spoke to me, kind of that deep-seated, you just know it to be true kind of feeling. Another sign is you don't do it primarily for the title, the pay, or the special perks that come along with it. You truly feel called to lead people, that you are meant to do it. Number 4, even prior to having a title, people trusted you and sought your guidance, your counsel, your input. They treat you like an informal leader even before becoming a leader. And finally, those you lead will see you as a servant leader who seeks to build trust and put their success ahead of your own. In most cases, if you do this well, productivity will be a byproduct of having engaged employees. So if you care for them first, they'll naturally want to be more productive for you. If you still aren't certain that leadership as a whole is your calling, it doesn't mean that you're not an effective leader. It doesn't mean that you aren't right where you're meant to be. God uses us where we are. Maybe you should look within the aspects that come with leadership and determine if you are aligned with your calling in certain aspects. What are your giftings, and how is God using them? What feels satisfying and energizing in your work? Perhaps your role has opened other doors that allow you to live your calling, something you're passionate about that meets a need and brings glory to God. Most times, I'm still not 100% convinced that leadership itself is my calling. I do know that God aligned things such that I found myself in a leadership role when I certainly didn't go looking for it. So He must have seen something I hadn't. What I can say for sure is, certain aspects of leadership very much align with what I truly see as my calling. I feel called to edify or build up other people, to help them see a perspective that they maybe struggle to see, and to help them see how very valuable and loved they are in God's eyes. I feel my calling is to help other women feel seen, heard, and valued. Leadership has allowed me that amazing opportunity. This podcast is another avenue for me to live into my calling. Just as was the case when I was a new leader, as a new podcaster, I certainly make mistakes. But God is faithful, and He is equipping me along the way. I just pray that my listeners, that's you, can look past the blemishes and hear His grace-filled message through me. It is an honor and a privilege to serve in His name. That's what I have for you today, my friends. As you look at the week ahead, may you be grateful and grace-filled.
I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you are enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free community, the Grace-Filled Leader Facebook group. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journey. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3:20. Until next time, God bless you, friend.